Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're gonna make a running reindeer pendulum card. Let's get started. At first we are gonna create our background. We will need a blank card and some blue distressing. By the way, you can find the materials I used in my blog. There is a link in the description box. As you can see, I use small circular motions for my sky. I do not want to add too much ink at once because that will cause my background to be uneven. You just need to keep building your sky until you are satisfied with the final result. If you want, you can also use a second color of ink for a more grounded effect. Don't stress if your sky isn't perfect, because this is a very forgiving project. Even if it is a little uneven, I promise you the final result will look beautiful. So, as you can see, I keep adding ink till I have a vibrant blue color. When I finished coloring my background, I let it dry for a few minutes and then used my embossing folder. The pine tree folder creates the perfect winter setting for my card. I will use the embossed trees as a guide to add my acrylic paint. I start by painting my tree trunk brown. All you need to do for this is to follow the embossed line as a guide. As you can see, I don't try to paint a perfectly straight line. That's because in real life tree trunks have many flaws, like knobs or other imperfections. So don't fear if your lines aren't perfect, those imperfections create a more organic look. After I finished painting my trunks, I continue with painting the tree branches. For this, I use only one shade of dark green. I didn't want to use more shades of green color because I was afraid it would be too much. For the branches, use a thin layer of paint and later you can add a second layer of paint to make it darker. Since we are creating a Christmas scenery, I think that adding snow is a must. I don't want to make my trees look too white, so I just add random blobs of paint here and there. Of course, you should not forget to add some snow on the smaller branches. For some reason, my white paint faded after it dried and wasn't as bright and white as I wanted, so I just added a second layer. Originally, my plan was to stop after I painted the trees, but then I remembered that I had this beautiful stencil for snow, so I just had to use it. Using a palette knife, I add some white paste on my stencil. If you don't have any paste, you can just use your white paint. I don't want my snowflakes to be too bulky, so I just scrape off the excess amount of product. When you're finished, remove very carefully your stencils from your paper and put your paper aside to dry. Make sure you clean the stencil immediately. Of course, it wouldn't be a running reindeer card without using a reindeer. I absolutely love this stamp set I've bought from Simon Says Stamp. Unfortunately, it was a limited edition. Don't worry though, if you want to make this card, I have plenty of other suggestions in my blog. To stamp my outline, I used some blank ink. Make sure that you'll color every little detail of your stamp. Be careful not to miss anything. If you are using this particular stamp set, make sure you apply enough pressure on the center of the stamp. And now for the best part, coloring our centerpiece. For this, you can use any color you have. Personally, I don't have any Copic markers, so I just use my Tombow markers. Even though I let my stamp completely dry, you can see that my marker picks some black color. In order to avoid smudging, use a scrap paper to clean it off, or if you're like me, use your own hands. Don't worry, it's easily to wash off. For the hat and the dress, I used a nice vibrant red. I wanted to make the little girl look like Santa. By the way, I'm so sorry for accidentally flipping you off. When I craft, I focus so much on what I'm making that I don't notice anything else. Am I the only one? Tell me in the comments if you also go so deep in the zone when you craft that you don't notice anything else. Again, when you paint the dress, try to avoid the little black stars in order not to smudge, and keep cleaning your marker. For the gloves, I used a darker shade of red. My initial thought was to try to paint the scarf pink, but I absolutely hate it. If the same thing happens to you, don't panic, just use a darker marker to cover the first color. For the boot, I used a black marker. If you don't have a black marker, you can use just a black pen. I also added some color on the hair because I thought it wasn't dark enough. Painting the reindeer was the hardest part for me. I used a dark shade of brown. Don't use too dark because you won't be able to see the design. You want to use long, straight strokes and try to avoid passing your marker from the same spot twice. Unfortunately, I did this exact mistake when painting the face. This particular mistake would be easy to fix if I had Tombow blender. Unfortunately, I can't find it in my country. Don't worry though, keep watching and you'll see how I fixed it. As you can see, I tried to paint the body with long strokes to make it look more even. With this method, sometimes I leave behind a small area that I didn't paint. I will fix that later by adding small dots of color on those areas. I tried to even out the face by adding more color. Unfortunately, it became too dark. To fix that, I used a wet baby wipe on the problematic area in order to pick the excess color. It worked really well. My initial thought was to remove the excess paint and repaint it, but I actually really liked the final result, so I kept it as it was. One final touch on my reindeer was to add some glitter on the ball. For this I used a glue pen. It was much easier. I filled the design and dipped it straight into the glitter. This small detail made a big difference. I also added some glitter on the bow tie, although you can't really see it. In order to create the snow hill, I used a white cardstock and a wavy dye. I placed my dye diagonally in order to create the illusion of a hill. I used a scrap piece of cardstock to stamp my sentiment on. I chose a dark red ink to make it more festive and Christmassy. Again, make sure that you will apply a nice coat of ink. When you stamp it, make sure that you move around your stamp a little bit in order to imprint the message. Now all you need to do is die cut your sentiment. For the pendulum, I used a scrap piece of plastic transparency and a brad. I punched a hole on the transparency using a hole puncher. Don't forget to leave a small piece of plastic underneath your hole for balance. In order for my mechanism to move, I need to use some double-sided foam tape on my heel. I will use it on the sides and the bottom of the heel. Because I wanted to be sure that my mechanism had plenty of room, I ended up adding 2 layers of foam tape. All I need to do now is glue my brad on the center of the heel. I used my hot glue gun. Let it completely dry and then open your brad. At this point, it would be best to test if your mechanism moves just fine and there are no problems. Since everything works, it is time to glue your reindeer on the pendulum. Do not cut the excess part of the plastic just yet, it is easier to do this after the glue dries. At first I was thinking to add some white paste or some glitter on my heel, but then I thought it would be too much with the background. So, because I would use only my sentiment as a decor, I wanted to pop out. That's why I used foam tape on the back. I glued my background using double-sided tape. You can use any type of glue you like, I just find tape faster since I don't have to wait for it to dry. And it is finally time to glue the final 2 parts. Very carefully align the heel with the card base. It already looks amazing. Because there is nothing on the bottom part of my card, I glued my sentiment near the center. This creates a nice optical illusion that makes the card look less empty. Your card is now ready. Look how cute that looks. The only problem with this card is that it's so much fun to make the reindeer move that you will want to keep it for yourself. Thank you so much for watching. Did you like this video? If yes, press the like button to let me know. Don't forget to subscribe on my channel for more videos. See you next time!